I am making this video because I think I've got something that's really going to encourage you. I hope. Uh, when God says something to us, He's going to do it. If He's giving you a promise, don't give up. One of the sayings I learned early on, I actually wrote a poem about it. Don't forget the promise when the rainbow is gone. Because just because the rainbow is gone didn't mean the promise was gone, right? God made Noah a promise, and God's still making good on that promise. And so I wanted to share this little testimony to just to encourage you to hold on. Trust God. If He said something, He'll bring it to pass. You've got to do your due diligence to just follow Him, fellowship with Him, build a relationship with Him. But ultimately, if He promised you something or gave you a vision or a promise or a dream, He's going to bring it to pass. In 1986-ish, 7-ish, yeah, give my age there, someone gave me a word, and she said, I see you going around the world. And I was like, yay, I always wanted to travel. It was a desire of my heart, right? And she said, but you're not. I said, well, so I'm in a plane? She says, no, you're ministering around the world, but you're going through the air. And I was like, how does that make sense? You mean I'm in an airplane? She's like, no, there's no airplane. I'm like, what am I in? A boat? No, you're going through the air. She goes, I can't explain what I'm seeing, but I'm telling you, you're going through the air to the nations. So I put it on the shelf, and I thought, okay, so I kept a passport ready. I was always ready on the go. I just knew God was going to open that door, and He opened a couple, shut a couple. Finally, in 2008, I was getting ready to go to Africa. I was so excited. God was finally going to do what He said He was going to do. But in November of 2008, my son had a tragic car accident and suffered a brain injury. So I immediately flew from Chicago to Louisiana and began the journey, the 15-year journey now, of taking care of him post-traumatic brain injury. So as I was adjusting to this new normal, I'm like, how does this promise God gave me measure up? Where does it go? Did God change His mind? Pretty sure that's not accurate. Did God did I misunderstand? Did He lie? Obviously He didn't do that. So I just prayed, put it on the shelf, and said, you know what, God, if you're gonna do it, because I thought this was my life's goal, right? To accomplish this and go to all the nations through the air, whatever that means. Now, let me remind you that in 1987, there were not even any smartphones. I know it's hard to imagine. There wasn't any internet. Imagine life without the internet now, right? You didn't even have a computer in your home, right? Maybe some antique type computers, we would say, wouldn't even work today, but maybe some of those, right? But there was no internet, there was no Wi-Fi. It didn't even exist when God gave me this word. And so, as I just put it on the shelf, said, okay, never mind. I just got busy working, got busy doing things, and I started writing my devotionals and Bible study guides and things like that. And so I just gave myself to writing. I continued to seek God, but I didn't even ask God about it. I was kind of mad, if I'm honest. I was kind of mad because I was like, this was always what I was going to do, and now I can't, so God took it back. I really experienced a lot of grief over the death of a vision or the death of a promise. And then I started teaching ESL, and God began to connect me in different language schools, and then I began to connect with ministries and different things. And so I thought, well, this is interesting. Now, I wasn't connecting the two, and you may be smart. You may be ahead of me. You may have already connected it, right? But I began to I got a world map and started putting a pin in it because I'm like, wow, I'm teaching school in all these different nations, right? So I started putting a pin in every nation I was in where I was teaching and or in ministering, because sometimes I would teach in the school, but I got to sing in a school in China, and I got to do a Bible study in the Philippines. I ministered to an orphanage in Pakistan, and which that ministry has broadened just recently. It's amazing to just watch God work. But I started putting pins in all these nations because I'm like, this is pretty cool. I leaned back, I put it up over my desk. One day I leaned back and I looked at it, and I'm going to try to show you my map here, if I can, without hurting myself. But that's my map that has pins in it. If you can see the pins in the different places. And I only put one per country. I didn't try to put one in all the different places I've gone, but in just the countries that came to mind this morning. And so I leaned back in my chair, put my head behind my head, and went, wow, look at all those pins. And I mean, it was like, boom, that vision came back, that word that that woman had given me that she didn't even know what she was talking about. And of course, in 1986, 87, she couldn't have explained the internet. She's just going, I don't know, you're going through the air. So via Skype, via Zoom, put that together, you got Scoom. Via Skype, via Zoom, I literally have been in, I don't even know how many nations of the world. Some of it was teaching school, but I'll tell you what, in teaching English as a second language, I found believers in China. Don't tell them. I found believers in Russia. Don't tell them, right? I found believers in South America. And I began to connect with believers, and many of them I'm still connected with today, right? And so my whole point is this. If God's promised you something, don't give up. You may have to put it on the shelf and let Him do the work instead of you making it happen yourself. But don't give up. If He promised you something, I promise you, He's good for His word. He'll put a pin in it for you, right? So trust Him. Don't give up. Just because the rainbow's gone doesn't mean the promise went anywhere. Just trust God. If He's given you a dream or a vision, that He will bring it to pass. It's His word to bring to pass, not His word for you to bring to pass. You just got to fellowship with Him. You just got to build a relationship with Him. He'll bring it to pass in your life. You can trust Him.